Here we have one of the biggest games from 2023 take a swipe on one of the biggest gaming disasters of 2024 in the form of Baldur's Gate 3 developer taking a shot at Ubisoft. And I mean, it's kind of an easy target at this point in time, right? Like, this is the big, strong, capable guy coming over to the twitchy kid in the wheelchair and tipping it over. Not exactly the most difficult of tasks to do, but hey, you know, tough times call for tough people, and sometimes you got to get down there in the dirt and mix it up a bit. Everybody likes to see a train wreck, right? Every once in a while, do a little bit of rubbernecking. So you got Baldur's Gate 3 developer blasts a Ubisoft sales strategy. If gamers should get used to not owning their games, one of Ubisoft's big quotes from the beginning of the year, then developers must get used to not having jobs. Oh my God. Oh my God, you put out games like that, because I remember, oh my God, because that was Yves Guillemot right there, thinking that, we're going to have such a we're going to have the best 2024 ahead of us. We have Skull and Bones, XDefiant, Star Wars Outlaws, and Assassin's Creed Shadows is going to be a very great year for us. We're going to be relaunching our Ubisoft Connect service, and it's going to be a great success. Gamers need to be, they should get used to not owning their games. Well, now Ubisoft is going to have to get accustomed to not owning their office space because they can't pay for the shit anymore. And yeah, after he makes that claim, the gaming industry begins to start axing jobs by the thousands. And yeah, we've seen what all of those newly out-of-work devs have put out this year, and quite frankly, I don't think anybody's really shedding a tear, because not exactly a lot of high quality, outside of a few bright spots this year, have come from those streamlined studios. But Baldur's Gate 3, right, like that came out and it broke all of the records last year. Okay, one of the best reviewed and best received games of the year, and it continues to be a juggernaut on PC. Whereas everything from Ubisoft, I mean, like, you can probably count on one hand the amount of players that are actively engaged with one of their IPs this year. But oh well. Sucks to suck, I guess. Michael Douse, the director of publishing for Baldur's Gate 3 and its developer Larian Studios, blasted Ubisoft in the wake of the number of blunders, including Prince of Persia: The Last Crown, which rumored to have seen its developer team disbanded after not meeting sales expectations. All right, that was another, like, it was right up there, and I completely glossed over that. Just, you know, talking about all of their other triple and quadruple A titles that all flopped on the face, or just ended up, its failure got pushed off to 2025. You know, Assassin's Creed Shadows, it's going to be so great because the collector's edition went down $50 in price. There's no season pass for DLC. There's no early access period. I'm sure it's going to be great. It's just, hey, you're being far too skeptical. You haven't played the game yet. You don't have a right to criticize it. It was rumored earlier this week that Ubisoft disbanded its team at Ubisoft Montpellier that worked on Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. The rumor originated from a French YouTube channel, Origami, whose host declared in recent days that Ubisoft Montpellier, we are transporting boxes from one floor to another, and is quite the symbol of it, is that of dissolution, not announced to the public, but completed, of the team Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. All right. The host went on to share the decision to disband the team was made shortly after the game was released at the beginning of the year, released at January 18th, 2024 on Switch, Xbox, and PlayStation. I didn't have a PC release. I find that interesting, he said. It was clear in the spring. In fact, a few patches and DLC, and we're out of there. The Ubisoft management had made the decision to move on from the game shortly after it was released. The host claimed that some members of the core development team fought for 2 DLCs in an attempt to change the minds of management. However, Ubisoft management were unconvinced, especially given the game sales were below expectations. Instead, they wanted to reallocate the team to more potentially lucrative projects. Well, under the Ubisoft banner, those don't exist. Nothing's turning a profit at this point in time. They are certainly and firmly in a death spiral. Furthermore, the team was told that if they were to release a sequel, it could cannibalize the long-term sales of the first game. Oh, right, yeah, because that's the way that sequels, and especially ones under the Prince of Persia banner, always tend to work. You know, this long-running game series that dates all the way back to, like, the fucking Atari, of all things. Like, this is one of Ubisoft's crown jewels, and they've reduced it to something that is released on what is the equivalent to 2024's Xbox Live Arcade. Bro, this used to be a big mover. Oh well. The reaction to the coverage of the team already being disbanded by PC Gamer. Douse shared his opinion on X. The last notable game on the platform was arguably Far Cry 6 in 2021. Yo, is that the last? Because that one wasn't even well received, but it might have turned a profit. The Crew, oh my god, the Crew Motorsport, like that is constantly on sales. And it'll be interesting, right, when the Steam sale, the Steam Christmas sale, winter sale, whatever the hell they call it, the Christmas specials, when everybody starts running those, it'll be interesting to see how many Ubisoft titles and how deeply they're going to be discounted. I'll be paying attention to that and probably talking about it, I would have to think. Yes, Assassin's Creed Mirage and Avatar, oh god, that was a bomb too, eh? I thought everybody loved those Avatar movies. Both of them made over $2 billion. It's just that, what a crazy franchise. Anyways, and didn't perform, so you can assume subscriptions were in a lull when POP released Prince of Persia by 2024, which means people won't be launching their store all too much. Yeah, exactly. Like, I look at all my little game launchers, and it's been a minute since I played a PC game. I've been wrapped up this entire year of just, trudging along when it comes to playing through twice. Only twice. I've only had the opportunity to play through it in its totality twice. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It's a chunky game. I love that game so much. Bro, 230 hours on the first playthrough, and at least the time of recording, I rolled credits on my second playthrough at 99 hours. That's a lot. That is a lot. But anyways, I wouldn't trade it for the world. But he added, if it had been released on Steam, not only would it have been a market success, but there would likely be a sequel because the team are so strong. It's such a broken strategy. The hardest thing to do was make an 85 plus game. I guess talking Metacritic or something like that. It is much, much easier to release one. It shouldn't have been done as it was. Well, yeah, exactly. That's one of those things. When it comes to the PS2 Prince of Persia games, like there was the trilogy that was there. They had the really edgy Prince of Persia. They weren't really for me. I didn't like the first game. I probably didn't give it a fair shake, mostly because the first level was so wonkily designed, and I think the third game in that trilogy was actually exceptionally poorly reviewed. I would imagine they're probably head and shoulders better than this, disaster that Ubisoft just shat out earlier this year. Next, Douse torched Ubisoft, and specifically the company's director of subscriptions, Philippe Tremblay, for his comments back in January, where he said gamers need to get comfortable not owning their games. Oh, so that wasn't Yves Guillemot, that was in fact, yes, Philippe Tremblay, trying to big up their subscription service. He said, one thing we saw is that gamers are used to a little bit like DVD having and owning their games. Now, that's a consumer shift that needs to happen. They got comfortable not owning their CD collections and DVD collections. Yeah, exactly. Okay, when people sign up for streaming service, they traded ownership for convenience. And, well, how is that working out for you? That's a transformation that's been a bit slower to happen in games. And, it kind of depends, especially with the redefinition that has happened over on Steam, where it's, you don't actually own the game, you just own a license, unless of course you're over on GOG, where you just get it DRM free. That's the one good thing that CD Projekt Red is still doing. I guess when it comes to the activists, they want their name in the headlines. They want to be a part of the attention grabbing side of CDPR. They don't really want to work their way into GOG. Good old games, that is, where you can just DRM free every purchase that you make over there. So shout out to them. Great stuff over there. But yeah, on the Steam side of life, where I know good old Gabe Newell, he's talked about it time and time again, like if Steam was to ever go out of business for whatever reason, yeah, there's some switches that they could flip, and yeah, before everything shuts down, yeah, we'll give you full license to your games. You could just don't have to worry about that. But one state or somebody, some union, some country conglomeration ended up signing a law, spurred the likes of Steam and different storefronts to say, you don't actually own this, you own a license to it, which kind of made this conversation a little bit more contentious recently. But yeah, back to what Michael Douse had to say, okay? If you resume your game at another time, your progress file is still there. It's not been deleted, and you don't lose what you built in your game or your engagement with the game. So it's about feeling comfortable with not owning your game. Oh no, that would be from Goofy-ass Philippe. That wouldn't be from Krause, my mistake. Or I'm sorry, Douse. Jeez, got it all wrong. If the statement, gamers should be used to not owning their games, is true because of a specific release strategy, sub above sales, then the statement, developers must get used to not having jobs if they make a critically acclaimed game, platform strategy above title sales, is also true, and that just isn't sensible, even from a business perspective. Very well put, my friend, very well put. While Douse's torching of Ubisoft rings true, and his observation that Ubisoft Plus was likely not seeing the number of players necessary to float Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, the fact that it would release on Steam would not necessarily make it a market success. In fact, the game released on Steam in August and appears to be struggling. Yeah, because it was probably just simply put out there to die. I see no fanfare for this at all whatsoever. Unlike how I think at this point in time, or maybe oh no, right, it's at the end of November, Star Wars Outlaws is going to get released on Steam, and that'll be a little bit more interesting to check back in on, but more on that later. Obviously, the game has a peak concurrent players of 1,446 players on Steam, which, interesting, if that's included in your Ubisoft $17, $18, $20 a month subscription service as opposed to just buying it outright, kind of lets me know that maybe Ubisoft Connect or Ubisoft Plus, whatever the hell they're trying to hawk it as at this point in time, yeah, maybe it isn't that good at all. But yeah, Douse, no stranger to criticizing Ubisoft, back in August, he appeared to criticize Ubisoft's pricing structure for Outlaws. He wrote on X, I don't love the artificiality of pricing structures post-retail. Use the inflated base price to upsell a subscription, and use vague content promises to inflate ultimate editions to make the base price look better. Yeah, this guy's got a pretty good head on his shoulders, and of course he should, because when it comes to Baldur's Gate 3, I don't really think that they have crazy DLC scheme or anything like that. But his comments throughout the year have been fairly based, okay? Brief economics lesson: bulk of development cost is salaries. If a company is sensible, then they afford inflation increases to developers, okay? Yeah, the rising costs over time, the last 2 years, astronomically increase risk. And what do most AAAs do? Reduce risk. How? Play it safe, follow trends. Exactly. That's why there's very little innovation in the AAA space, and why budgets continue to inflate, but then it's stagnant experiences. Okay, then declared, if you want to be really engaging, super polished premium experience, you won't, because it is economically impossible, save for a few token outliers. Get to them from risk-averse strategies coping with inflation. I want good games. I get mad at bad games. I also price games. I priced both DOS 2 and Baldur's Gate 3. I wish I knew what DOS 2 was. Apologies, below their value, because I care about people's cost of living and have faith in our recoup. Yes. Also price games, yes, CE, far below. Again, I had faith, so I'm not the suit ripping people off. Thanks, RPS. But yeah, man, Baldur's Gate 3 was priced as a AA experience. I think it was like $50 or something on release or something like that. Like, it's crazy. And you got dozens and dozens, hundreds of hours of gameplay if you're so inclined. And because the game is not as expensive as others in the space, people are willing to give it an opportunity. They heard good word of mouth, and they put a good game that's out there. And because, yeah, it's priced a little bit lower, more people are willing to jump into that end of the pool, and then they end up selling more copies and then have more profit as a result. I guess real simple economics, man. When you start pricing this stuff completely and totally out of sorts, like the fact that Ubisoft could simply take $50 off of the top of the collector's edition and not sweat it lets you know how much they're marking this stuff up. There's so many problems in AAA gaming, not just on the Ubisoft front, but just the overall bloat. Like I said, I just rolled credits on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and I think that that's an exceptionally well-created game, well-realized. If that game cost, I don't know the budget or anything like that, but if it cost $200 million, you played every single penny of that $200 million. The credits rolled, and of that incredibly long final battle sequence, the credits themselves, I think it was about the longest contiguous video battle or anything like that. It was crazy. It was about 25-30 minutes long. There were thousands of people attached to that project, but that's kind of an outlier in today's day and age, because if you have a similar experience, and I point to that once again because there's no DLC, there's no plans for a DLC. They created, Naoki Hamaguchi and his team created a full experience, and then they're anticipating everybody getting hooked on that game so that they join them for the conclusion of the trilogy. They're not out there trying to milk long-term players by just microtransactioning everybody, selling additional costumes, even though they could. There are some costumes I'd very much like in there, but that's why I'm also waiting for a PC release on that one so we can mod the shit out of it so you can get Sephiroth and Zack in the party. That's going to be fun as hell to have Soldier Boys running around you. But I digress. There are a few people out there that are doing it right. It's just not at Ubisoft at this point in time. So they just kind of have to take their lumps until they can, I don't know, either course correct or just simply go out of business. I think one of those is far more likely than the other. Just so happens to be the latter. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.